Let me in.
Shoo! 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 Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I'm out the way, I'm low, okay. The island right here is remote, okay. I ain't thinking.
If you're looking for custom, you're in the right place. Today I'll be wiring my puddle light as cornering lights. Some of the older cars used to come with the cornering light, so whenever you do the turn signal, it'll illuminate all the side of the car. But now they're really gone away from that, and some of the newer luxury cars have them only. So I think it'll be cool to add them on the Tahoe right here.
Not only is that practical, it is just badass.
I've looked all over YouTube and I have not found one video of anybody showing how they actually wired up their cornering light setup. So if you want to add this feature to your car or truck, don't worry, this wiring concept will also work on other vehicles. Even though I'm adding the cornering light feature to the puddle lights, they'll still retain the factory features. So you can see there, whenever I open my door, the puddle light will come on. And if you haven't checked out how we did these puddle lights last time, I'll go ahead and link that video on top of the screen right here. And I think that's a pretty cool feature, so I'll be integrating it into the puddle lights. But I could actually run my wiring towards the front and add a separate light.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, everybody, let's get started.
For this project, I'll be using some 18 gauge wire, 4 10 amp diodes, and my favorite 2 timer relays. And I'll have these items linked down below in the description for you guys. All right, so I have my door panel up and we're gonna be interfacing with this side of the harness for the mirrors. Without that tape, now I can see the wiring much better, and we'll be interfacing with pin F right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's this white wire. So it'll be this white wire, and on the top of it, you can see that letter F right there. The way the factory puddle lights work right now is through this white wire with a 12-volt signal, so I'll have to interface it. And you know it wouldn't be custom if we're not cutting any wire, so I will have to cut this in half.
Just point to the wire you want me to cut.
The square one right here.
Great.
So I'll just cut it around this area here. To interface the wiring, I'll be installing 2 10 amp diodes with the stripes facing up. Here's a better look at the stripe on the top side of the diode, and just make sure it's facing up, because if you do it the other way around, it won't work. Alright, so I've already inserted my diodes, I just gotta solder them, but essentially this is what it has to look like. This white wire will go on top of both diodes with the stripe, and then on the bottom you'll have 2 legs left over, one for the factory wire, and then one for your aftermarket wiring. So I'll go ahead and solder this. Alright, they're all soldered up, and I added some heat shrink right here. I do still have to cover up this area because it does have 12 volts, but that's after I just close up all this. And essentially what I've done is just add an extra input to the puddle lights. So right now the factory wiring, as you can see, is still going straight up here. And now with this diode here, I can power up my puddle lights by applying 12 volts to this wire anywhere that I want to connect it to. The reason I'm using diodes is to not give any feedback to the original wiring. So from here, 12 volts will go straight up, but not pass back this diode. And the same way on this side, from the factory, 12 volts only this way and not on this side of it.
Look at you, Dr. Smarty Pants.
So I just soldered some 18 gauge wire, and I'll be running it through the factory boot into this side. All right, so I just ran my wire through the factory grommet, so it's sticking out right over here, this red wire. Everything is now tested, taped, and zip tied. The diodes landed right over here, so it should be good with the door panel. It's not gonna be getting in the way. And then all the factory wiring is just zip tied in this area as well. You can see it. This wiring process right here will be exactly the same on the driver's side. I'll be making some connections under the dash and the BCM, so I'm gonna have to remove this, and I'm gonna be making my wires go all the way to the glove box on the passenger side. So these right here are the wires that I just ran on the driver's side. The red one is the one that we're using today for the puddle lights, and I also ran this extra black wire for another install in the future, but we won't have to worry about this one today. And mainly we're going to be focusing on this one and the one on the passenger side. And as you can see right here, I went ahead and ordered some plug and play connectors just to make it simpler. And these plugs that I ordered are 8-pin, even though that I'm only going to be using this 1 pin. And I'll probably also attach this one, so pretty much just 2 for today. I'll start off by making my 12-volt connection, and I'll be connecting it into this red and white wire since it has a lot of slack. But I can also use this red one, either one will work. Alright, so 12 volts is done, and I added an extension so that I can add a fuse here. Now I'll do my turn signal connections, and they're going to be in the first connector, which is brown here. So it's going to be this light blue wire and the one next to it, which is blue. This light blue wire is gonna be pin B6, which is the left turn signal. And right next to it is gonna be this blue wire, which is pin B7, and that's for the right turn signal. Here's a better look at the connector. On the top left, you can see that letter B, and right in the middle is that light blue and blue wire next to each other. Last time I did my conversion on the mirrors, so I left me some slack. You can see this blue wire and this green one. They're connected to those two wires. To make it simple on myself, I'm gonna color match this green and blue to these two wires that I already have. For the best connection, I would do a military splice, poking a hole in the wire and then sticking the new one and wrapping it around. Okay, turn signals are done, and I also went ahead and put on my fuse and tucked the wires in a little bit so it looks a little bit better. And now I'll be hooking up this last wire on the BCM, which is the headlight wire, and I'll be connecting it on this connector here. This white wire, which is on pin A11. Now that I flipped it, here's a better close-up. You can see on the top left it says A, and pin 11 is the white wire. I've got it soldered now, so I'll put some tape, and I'll also add some Tesa tape to clean this area up. Those are all the connections at the BCM, and now it's looking much better. For the wiring on my kick panel, I'm gonna be using the male side, so I'll be using this red wire to the red one in the truck, and I'm also hooking up this black wire for a future update. On the female side of the harness, I'm also adding some more wire to extend it and run it with all the wiring that I just did on the BCM. And these harnesses here come with 2 of each color, so to keep it simple, I'll just be using on the top right, pin 1 and pin 2. Alright, so these are all soldered, and I'll just go ahead and add some Tesa tape to clean this up. It's exactly the same on the passenger side as well. And these are the other side of the harness. So this one is longer because it's the driver's side, and the passenger side is a little bit shorter. Alright, so that's good and strong. And now it's detachable, so in case I need to service the door, I don't need to cut my wires. And I also left me a little bit of tape exposed here and on this side so that I can unwrap it for future upgrades. I have all my wiring at the glove box, and I'm gonna be mounting the relays right in this area. I ran all the wiring to the top, that way it's not gonna be getting in the way over here of the glove box. And I'm gonna be mounting the relays right up in here just like this, and then the other one on this side. Now to do the connections on the cornering lights, I'm gonna wire up both relays. So I just ran 2 extra grounds. You can see them here on the left. So I just have my ground here with a self-tapping screw. So these are just the 2 ground wires for the relays. My 2 puddle light wires, 1 for each relay. The one with the tape is my right side. And on the wires from the BCM, I'm gonna split this 12-volt wire so that I can have 2. And I also will split the white wire so that I can have 2 headlight wires. Alright, so now I have 2 separate headlight wires and also 2 separate 12-volt wires. Now for the fun part of hooking up the relays, I've already tinned my wires with some solder, so that way the hairs are not going to be flying around. And I did it to all of them, except that on these I added some tape so they wouldn't be touching because they do have some 12 volts and they're the BCM connections. So first I'll do the grounds and my outputs to the puddle lights. On the left side of the relay, the bottom terminal is ground. Each puddle light gets connected on the bottom right terminal. So this is my left one right here, and on the right side, if you remember, I added the tape, so it's on the bottom right corner. Next I'll do the 12-volt connection, and it'll be on the right side middle terminal of each relay. Okay, so now we got 12 volts done, and it should look something like this, with the 2 red wires on the right side, and then the ground is still here on the bottom left.
My bad. I'm colorblind.
You what?
The headlight wire will go on the top left of each relay. The final 2 connections are the turn signals, and those will go on the middle pins of each relay. This one is my right turn signal, so blue will go on this side, and my green wire will go on the left relay.
Wait, which hand is that? I'm also dyslexic.
What?
Alright, so that's all the wiring on the relays, and just make sure that you have no strands of copper sticking out because you don't want them to touch. Now the relays have to get programmed, but before that I will clean up the wiring, and I added some double-sided tape in the back to help me mount them as well. Alright, so now the wiring looks much better. The relays are looking good, and I just added a zip tie in the middle just to make sure they're not going to fall off. And whenever I close the glove box, it's pretty close, but it clears it. If you're mounting your relays on the same area, just be careful whenever you have stuff in the glove box because it does get pretty close. Okay, now that the relays are mounted, I'll go ahead and turn on the headlights. That way we can program them for cornering light. To program the relays, what you want to do is make sure and press on the first button and hold it. And then you'll see the letter P. You want to be on menu 4, so it'll say P/4. If you press it one more time, you can see it's got the 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So you want to be on P4. After that, just press on the middle button. And what you want to have here it's a 001 without no dots on it. So pressing this middle button here will select the number. You go to the next number, just make sure there's 00, and then this one, change it to 1, and that's for 1 second. So that's good. Press it again in the middle, and then you press one more time to make sure this decimal is going to go away, so you don't want no dots on here. So there you can see it's gone. With this programming, the puddle lights will stay on solid whenever I'm doing the turn signal, and they'll just have a 1 second delay off. For the cornering lights to work, I have to have my headlights on, and then anytime that I do my turn signal, the puddle light will come on solid, and that's because I'm using my puddle lights as corner lights. But if you run like your wires all the way to the front, you can actually have it more forward in this area. So I'll do my turn signal here, and you can see that the puddle light is on solid. And once the turn signal is off, the puddle light will just have a 1 second delay off. So there you can see it was just 1 second, and then it goes completely off. If I want it more, I could just increase the number on the relays. Remember, we just programmed that 001. For example, I just adjusted the timer to a 4 second delay. Here you can see the 4 second, and that one is still 1 second. So if I do my turn signal, you can see it on, and then once it turns off, it should stay on for 4 seconds. All right, so now it's off. So just something like that, you know, if you want to change it up, you can. I like the 1 second because I don't want it to stay on too long.
Let me hear you say OV-ho, OV-ho. Say OV-ho, OV-ho. Then step this way, step that way. Then step this way, step that way. Are you my friend? Are we locked in? Then step this way, step that way. Then step this way, step that way.
The cool thing about this wiring, that it's pretty much universal, so I could actually like run another light down here and have it as a real cornering light instead of using my puddle light. But for now, I'm fine with this, and you guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. So that's the Tahoe right there, guys, a little fancy with the cornering light setup. And also, if you have a 03 to 06 Tahoe, stay tuned, where I'll go over some tips and tricks on how I would tackle a project like this. And also, we'll be diving in a little bit deeper onto the puddle lights and some more wiring options. So if you like this content, don't forget to smash that like button down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.